If there's one thing I know for a fact with 100% certainty, all women hate when men decide to go their own way. I don't know what it is, but when men decide to call it quits on dating and relationships, women hate that. This woman could be married, in a long-term relationship, or on a rooster carousel, and all of them will try to either shame or convince you back to the plantation. And the question we have to ask is, why do women go crazy when men decide not to pursue relationships anymore and live life for themselves? Well, I have the answer for you that will shed some light on how your superpower as a man is to walk away. Now, it should be obvious by now that men are the ones who control access to a relationship and women control access to sex. That's how it has always been, so knowing that it puts giving away your commitment into perspective. Have you ever noticed that women constantly push for your commitment more than anything else? Well, that's because women instinctively know that they can get more out of you if you guys are in a committed relationship than of all other forms of relationships. Take the dynamics between a sugar daddy and a sugar baby as an example. The sugar daddy in this dynamic is the one who holds all the power because he didn't commit to her, so legally, she isn't entitled to anything, and at any moment, he can trade her in for another young piece of tail because she needs him more than he needs her. Let's flip the script and look at people in committed relationships under the guise of monogamy. When a man decides to be in a relationship with a woman, he essentially gives his power away because he depends on her to get his willy wet, which gives her the power in the relationship since she's supposed to be the sole provider of that sweet, sweet thing. Remember, women are the gatekeepers of sex, so if she doesn't give you consent to blow her back out, then you legally cannot touch her regardless of the situation. This gives the woman control if you agreed to be committed to her, mainly in marriage because you are tied to her by contract, giving her free rein to withhold sex from you whenever she wants. A regular relationship doesn't give her that much leverage because either of you has no skin in the game, and you can leave or cheat at any time. Here's the deal. Once men have leverage and options over women, they know there's no peace league game they can play that will work, because for a woman to manipulate a man, he has to either care about the woman, have some form of relationship with her, or she is the only person that he can get access to sex from. Without those three things, no card is left up their sleeve to try and manipulate and take advantage of men. This is why they pine for relationships so badly. In a relationship, you'll obviously care about her, you guys form a bond, and she is the only person you're supposed to have sex with if it's a monogamous relationship. So if we tie it back to the sugar daddy conversation where he uses his money and he doesn't care about the woman, he's not in any committed form of relationship or depends on her for sex, then he'll always have the upper hand. And to go back to the original point, women go crazy over the men that go their own way because they can't have any leverage over those men since they don't want anything to do with women. Always remember that a woman's primary goal in this world is to survive and ensure that her young baby survives. When the child grows into a teenager, mothers won't care or love that child as much because they are biologically hardwired to protect babies, not young adults. And for women to survive, they need protection, and men are the ones who provide security in this world. Now, along with protection, they also need resources and a roof over their heads to feel safe, and if they were to become pregnant, they could survive and live to take care of that child. This is all evolutionary and biological for the species to survive, so it's nothing complex to think about. Everything I listed is things that all women need, and because most of them can't get these things for themselves, they figured out that they could just let the man go get it, and in exchange, they'll give the man the one thing that they have to offer, which is that wet vice grip. So I want you to see that all relationships are transactional by nature. This love and romance BS that people try to push always goes back to transactional relationships, because I know damn well most men would never take care of a woman that's not an immediate family member if sex wasn't involved. And 99.999% of women will not give away sex for free to every man she deals with. So let's stick to the reality of the situation and acknowledge that all relationships between men and women are transactional. With that said, men who decide to walk away from women and relationships are a problem in women's eyes because they can't get anything out of you, which threatens their survival. Men who go their own way cannot be manipulated by women to give up their resources, which is why they can't allow men to do that. Because if men remove themselves from women's lives, then most of them, even in modern times, would not be able to survive even with the government's help. So never believe that these 304s are winning because most of them aren't. Never forget that most women are horrible with money, and many don't have the drive or ambition to go chase the bag to retirement age. So they need someone to either provide the funds so they can retire or someone to keep them alive and take care of them when they are old and cannot do much for themselves. That's where a man or a child that has money comes in. But when men decide they don't want anything to do with women, then they'll only have their kids to depend on. And what if they didn't have any kids, or their kids didn't amount to anything significant while they're still alive? Then who's going to take care of them? You see what I mean? It puts them in a vulnerable position because now they have no crutch to lean on. Look, gents, peace leave is worthless to the men who truly have gone their own way because these guys are not interested in slaying peace leave, they don't want any serious relationships, and most of these men don't care about women. Back to what I said earlier, if a woman cannot leverage sex or a relationship, then she cannot control or get anything out of a man, and in essence, she's at. That is why they go crazy when men decide to go their own way, because they cannot get anything from these men in order to survive. Now, let's say that just 50% of the male population decided they're done with modern women and they were going to go their own way, then it's curtains for women. The systems put in place to extort men and transfer the wealth to women in order to support them and enable them to survive would collapse overnight. They would get no guaranteed 50% of the man's assets, no more alimony, no more child support, no sugar daddies, no more step dummies, and no more son husbands taking care of them in their old age. Now, do you see why they can't stand men who go their own way? Do you see why they try to shame and convince you to go back into relationships? Because they need you more than how you need them, and that's the bottom line. Now, if I was to go deeper and talk about why the womanists hate men, that would get this video demonetized, no questions asked. The fact that womanism is licking its wound due to the current economy, I don't see a season why I would go into depth into why womanists do not like it when men decide they're done with all women in society. However, I went over to Quora as usual and found a great topic related to this video. But if I leave this article as is, that would be seen as misogynist, so I'll tweak it a bit so you guys have the context to what I was talking about. The original topic is why womanists hate men that decide to go their own way, but we can't add that to the video for obvious reasons. And let's try and get this video to 500 likes, and I'll go into much darker topics about the new world, you know who. Anyways, let's dive into the answer. I will only take a portion of it to illustrate my point. Men's Union says that the advantages to XXs have become apparent as they were no longer expected to marry or settle down with one man unless they wanted to. Marriage has become a slave contract, giving the woman near unlimited power if she so chooses, with the full support of a multi-billion-dollar court system if her husband doesn't give her everything she desires. Lawyers, activists, lobbyists, and cultural powerhouses such as the media and religion to back her up, should she choose to end the union for whatever reason, accuse her beloved of whatever she whims to extract even more resources, or falsely accuse someone for personal gain. This has turned XXs power hungry and made them do whatever they desire, only realizing the consequences later on in life when they inevitably cause their own loneliness and financial ruin through poor decision-making, sleeping around, cheating, living luxurious lifestyles they can't afford, and generally becoming very hateful people that repel even the most obedient of men that would have married and cared for them. Gents, this is true and sums up what I was saying earlier, but diving deeper into the theme of womanism, I can say for sure that women are their own worst enemies, and they are usually the leading cause of why they end up struggling later in life. Many men want to be with women, but when women destroy men in the family courts, they take away their resources and kids, labeling them as predators that need to be locked away or die. Can you blame men for walking away from XXs in the system? I don't, and I want more men to go their own path and make these women self-reflect and pick up the pieces of their lives alone. Let them die alone, that's my motto. Since they hate us so much, then why the hell would any sensible man want to be around someone like that? Would you chill and hang around guys that hate you? No, so the same treatment applies to XXs, and they're just gonna divorce you anyways, so just walk away, gents. That's what I would recommend. Let's wrap it up. As a result, many men realize that marriage had become null and void, that there aren't many benefits for them in relationships, and are speaking out against the tyranny that the you-know-who movement has instilled upon women. Naturally, womanists, as the megalomaniacs that they are, despise this resistance and want to crush it at every turn. Using the media, education, the government, and entertainment media, they have attempted to show the men checking out group as nothing more than violent man-children to delegitimize and destroy them in order to preserve their utter dominance over Western culture. If enough men go their own way, womanists won't have power over them through marriage or children, and men who are done won't produce enough GDP for them to feast on through social programs, and this greatly troubles them. Well, the government can just impose a bachelor's tax to try and minimize the damage that would do if men stopped supporting women, but I understand and agree with what he's saying. But the overall theme is women cannot survive without men and the system that leeches off of men to support women. It's that simple. And it's stupid that even when men decide to leave them alone, they still can't leave us in peace because deep down, they know that we are better than them, and they need us way more than how we need them, and that's just the fact. We can survive on our own, and they can't, so they go crazy and mad when men decide to opt out. And one more thing I want to impart onto you guys. Never let anyone shame you or try to lead you back to the plantation, especially if it's a monkey simp or woman. If you truly want to opt out and live life for yourself, then do it. Always remember that you are the only person that will have your best interest at heart. Other people are miserable and want to see other people miserable, or they want to take from you, so always remember that. Nobody will ever love you as much as how you will love yourself, so keep that in mind. And if you ever get lonely and want a companion, get a pet that will keep you company. Women do not make good companions, and the divorce statistics prove that, so why would you want to commit when she'll leave you anyways? Share the video with a man that needs this message. Consider giving us a donation. The links to our Cash App and PayPal are in the description box below. And to me, the best thing for men is to opt out, since women and the system won't change. If you want to learn about why men are in serious trouble and don't even know it, then click the video on the screen right now and see what the elites have planned for us.